Bring the breath in, feel the welcoming, the openness. Let your cells feel the welcoming. You might even get a sense of a tingling throughout your body. We're so happy to be here right now. There's quite a few of you this time. The energy is very high. Energy is very strong. We have a subject that we really wish to convey to you today. A subject that is very, very close to your mind, not necessarily your heart. Or there seems to be a lot of it going on your planet right now in your consciousness throughout the world. And it's part of the polarity of the planet. It's part of the polarity of your third dimensional reality. And you all like to use this word of control. Control has many, many aspects to it, not only any worldwide situation, but of course in each one of your unique journeys that you're taking. For control can mean many, many things to you, can feel like many, many things to you. But yet in reality, it is all of the mind, for there is no control in the heart. But yet control seems to be a very, very strong aspect of your journey and everybody else's journey. As you look at your journey, you can see various aspects in your life, times, situations, opportunities, and so on, that came about to use control in a way to help you survive certain situations, help you be able to judge certain situations, help you feel okay about yourself in certain situations. There are also times when control came in using it against you. Say others trying to control you, situations trying to control you, larger organizations trying to control you, governments trying to control you, stories that you hear trying to control you. Many, many different aspects of control that you face on a daily basis. But yet this is the learning ground for you. Control is very unique to each one of you, and the reason it is because it brings about a feeling, a depth of feeling that the ego wants you to continue to feel. For either allowing control to come in, or controlling yourself, or trying to control what's outside of you, brings a sense of superiority, a sense of being better than or less than. There usually isn't a middle ground to it, to the feeling of what's going on. Usually it's the either or scenario. And sometimes it feels really wonderful because it makes you feel stronger and better and higher. And sometimes it's the opposite. It makes you feel less than, lower, denser. Now, as you know, control has another aspect to it, which allows judgment to come in after the control takes place. You have a sense, a feeling of control either coming at you or going out from you. And as the result of that control takes place, there seems to be a debate or a fighting or an adversarial type situation going against something having to be right, having to be wrong, that sort of feeling that comes with it, which then promotes the judgment that you either see something as negative or positive, right or wrong, good or bad, black or white. And from that perspective, your ego then tries as best it can to bring you back into the emotional attachment that you have created and manifested for yourself, representing the definition of who you are in the journey that you're in. The control aspect of things makes you also feel like a rebellion sometimes. It makes you feel like you want to rebel against anything that's trying to control you, to put you into a place where you don't seem to have the free choice that you so dearly wish to have. When control comes in, it feels like you have to do something, even though your heart might say, no, you don't. But to be accepted, to be able to do the things that you want to do in your society, for instance, or in your community, or in your world, you succumb to the control. Now, we gave Tomei a wonderful experiential piece that he had used with another client of his, which we are going to share today as well, because that experiential piece really has some validity to everyone as they walk their walk. And we wish to use this to be able to allow you to possibly envision what it might be like to not be under control. Now, this experiential piece, this kind of visionary way of looking at something, was a tightrope. And the tightrope is your journey, your personal journey. It's not a tightrope that is consistent necessarily with just the world, but it is a tightrope that you have created to walk your walk. And as you walk that tightrope, of course, you know you must be in balance in some way. And what the world of control does is it is kind of comes in two parts for you. One part is your belief system of what control is. And the other part is what the world is telling you what control is. And you try and balance yourself between the two. And as you're balancing yourself between the two, the tightrope itself is filled with emotional attachment. The tightrope becomes strengthened by the emotions that you project into either side of that tightrope. So let's say on your right side, as you're walking the tightrope, is your personal definition of how to control. Control yourself in certain situations, control yourself around certain people, control yourself at work, control yourself as you go to, say, a concert, control yourself in any habits or hobbies you have. You have a certain way of being in control. And you have learned this through your experiential pieces as you walked your walk on your tightrope and fed the tightrope with more and more emotion. And on your left side, as you walk the tightrope, is the world itself, the third dimensional world, which positions itself in certain ways to show you that, you didn't see this control coming, but you need to control. We need to control you. You have to be controlled this way so you can function in our world. And of course, as you know, that changes from almost day to day sometimes. And you have to adapt yourself and balance yourself off so you don't fall off the tightrope. And you have to accept what the world shows you as far as what it's trying to tell you control is and how it's changed. As you walk your tightrope, as you walk that walk, trying to balance yourself back and forth, you're going to fall off either one side or the other. And fear comes in that you will be lost forever in one side or the other. And you keep trying to walk and walk and walk. And thus, the tightrope never ends. You might say, as you look off into the distance, it goes off into infinity. At least that's what it seems like to you, because it doesn't seem like you have a choice of getting off either side, or that there isn't an opportunity to be in complete neutrality or in balance as you walk your walk. Each one of you has a specific tightrope that you walk based upon the lessons that must be learned in this lifetime that you have chosen to adapt to. Yet even with your free will, those can change. Because as you come down, other opportunities present themselves, and your free will can go in there and make these choices that make a difference and change some of the outcomes that at first you agreed to go through as you came down here. Changing, you might say, the journey, the tightrope a little bit. And it seems as though this is never going to end. In fact, it seems as though things just keep getting added to it. So how does it change? What might happen for you to be free? To change everything, it's just to completely drop the tightrope. It's to let go of the definitions, the emotional attachments to everything that is happening on either side. To see for the first time that that is not who you are. The fear of dropping off the tightrope keeps you on the tightrope. It's almost as if you're jumping off into some darkness, some endless abyss. And yet that's exactly what has to happen, is for you to understand within your heart space that there is no tightrope, that there is a purity of understanding and connection, that the universe itself would never, ever let you down, that it has your back completely, and to not be driven by the tightrope that you have created. It is not easy. We understand that. And in some ways, the work that all of you have done individually has shown you that it isn't easy, because you get trapped back in to the world, or you get trapped into the definition of who you want to be in this world. Instead of the freedom and the joy that could come about if you allow that tightrope to not even exist. To know that there isn't even a net underneath the tightrope waiting for you. There's open arms, angel wings, if you will, a sense of home, of freedom, a lifting, a lightness. It is all there for you. But it's your choice to hold on to the tightrope. It's your choice to not let go. It's your choice to continue to let it drive you. And yet it doesn't even exist. One of the greatest and most difficult acts to do on your journey is to let go of this tightrope. For without it, you don't even know who you are. Without it, you fear that you will lose yourself. And yet that's the very act that must take place. You can see throughout the world in the present way it is, that more and more control is happening. More and more freedom is being taken away through fear, manipulation, supposed laws that are being created, laws that are being dissolved of freedom. Others taking properties away from other people, looking for ways to harm each other. It's becoming more and more divisive in this world that you live in. Yet it's a beautiful journey, because the more divisive it becomes, the more clarity you will see. The key, once again, is the heart space. The key is to moving into the heart. The key is to not allow the mind to be your driver. And you know this, yet it's still difficult. Each day, a new challenge presents itself that seems to be greater than the last challenge. Each individual soul must find their own place first. It's not about everyone coming together as such to make a difference. It has to begin with each individual soul to make a difference. All of you that are on this call today, and those that are going to be listening in the future, know that this is the truth at this time. You know what it feels like to harm another. You know what it's like to be harmed. There is no question any longer of the densities, the different areas of densities that you have experienced, not only in this lifetime, but in the thousands of lifetimes that you have experienced up to this point. You know the journey to take. You hold on tightly, though, to that tightrope of definition, of emotional attachment. And through it, you develop various addictive qualities that keep you even tighter onto that tightrope. There is no loose grip. It's almost as if you just cannot let go. Opinions, judgments. You know what this feels like. There is no question that you know what this feels like, and it's time to finally shift those energies. It's not simplified. It is very difficult in a lot of ways, yet you already know how to do this. You come down as masters, each one of you. In fact, there are over 7 billion masters on the planet right now. They just don't know it. Each soul has the ability to come to this place of pure polarity, not ego, dualistic polarity, but a pure polarity where it truly is experiential in recognizing or realizing for yourself what you might say is a minus type experience versus a plus type experience, because there's no judgment on either one. This is a pure polarity. The universe is made up in such a way. The star tetrahedron that each one of you have around you, it rotates in opposite ways. The top and the bottom rotate oppositely, forming a pureness within the center of the star tetrahedron that then allows an energetic feeling to come in to the middle of that black hole, traveling throughout all of your system, your energetic system, your physical system, your emotional body, your mental body, your physical body. Connecting you to everything, to infinite abundance, allowing you to have a direct experience of the truth of who you are in your heart space. Expanding this opportunity beyond yourself is, of course, the reason you're here. But first, it has to be developed within yourself. Your high S self, not your low S self. And there is a letting go process, as you know, to be able to get deeper and deeper and deeper into that space, into that pure dualistic polarity space, where there is no judgment whatsoever. It just is in the moment. We have spoken to you over many, many channels now about silence, about being in the moment, being present. There have been even some meditations to assist you to go to this place. And isn't it true that when you are in this space, albeit maybe just a few seconds or even longer, there's no tightrope. It doesn't exist. There's no emotional attachment to anything. There is no definition. But there is an experiential situation. There is an experience that is taking place. There are no words for this experience because it's in the in-between state. It's neither there nor here. It's neither plus or minus. It just is. There are times when you truly, truly feel this. You know it. You've felt it before. There's many opportunities for you in this duality to allow yourself to deepen it. It doesn't have to be set up. There doesn't have to be a coordinated meditational situation for it to happen, because you simply just have to take a breath, but be with the breath. Be with the in-between state. Slow things down. It's a choice you have. That free will choice allows you to go either direction. You can stay on the tightrope as long as you wish. Your mind might convince you that you have so many other things to learn, that it will never end while you're here. And yet, in that one moment of presence, it's over. In that one moment of presence, you have the opportunity to be one with the infinite abundance. In that moment. In that moment, you have a near-death experience. For you are no longer the body you think you are. It doesn't exist. You have crossed over in that split second, feeling the depth of that present moment. And it's like most near-death experiences, you pop out of it and you come back and you stand with your body on the dualistic nature of the planet. almost as if it's a dream where you came from. Yet this is the dream here. The reality is that second that you just spent when you crossed over. Now, in the journey that you have here, you might say it is pretty much impossible to do this 100% of the time, for if you did, you wouldn't be here any longer. Yet there is an opportunity, because of your free choice and will, to experience this more and more. And as you do, you look forward to it. You might say, you try and remember within your heart to be present. We will give you a short example of this that happened just recently with Tomei, the friend of his, who was on a hike. And this individual was so wrapped up with himself and what was going on around him that he didn't see anything around him at all. And all of a sudden, came upon a small cluster of purple flowers, and it struck him instantly. He became enamored by it, connected to it, almost as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. And in that instant, turned around and saw a huge meadow of the same flowers that he had walked through and didn't even know they were there, because he was on his tightrope. Yet there was still a synchronized situation that took him out of it for that 1 second to help him look around and become more aware of the present moment. In that present moment, he was not on his tightrope any longer. He was totally connected to what he was feeling and sensing. These are the opportunities that could continue to help build that sense of oneness and unity that comes from the star tetrahedron that you place around yourself. The more you allow yourself to be in the present moment, the stronger the star tetrahedron gets. The stronger the star tetrahedron gets that's around you, the stronger your cells will operate at a higher frequency, a higher level. The stronger your energetic body will function at a higher level. It's all up to you to be present, to be in the moment, to take a breath, allows that star tetrahedron to become stronger and stronger around you. Of course, bringing a pure intent to that star tetrahedron as you're doing that will enhance it even more. And remember, it's not an intent of the mind, it's a pure intent of the heart. It is unique unto you. Your pure intent is unique unto you. It is not the same as someone else's. It is truly unique unto you. Others can try and define intent, their intent of what they wish to do or how they wish to act, and so on and so forth. That is all mind-driven. It would say at some point, it's almost impossible to put words to a pure intent of the heart, for it is a feeling, a deep feeling that goes way beyond your star tetrahedron, that goes into the universe, into the depth of the beginning of time. It connects you with all things. It connects you with other beings. It brings you into a higher state. a truth. And you can feel this every moment of every day if you wish. It's not a goal. It is already there. It's not something to go towards. It is already a part of you. Allow yourself to feel the depth of this star tetrahedron that you have. The connection to the all is beyond comprehension. It's beyond words. There are no words. But you'll know it when you feel it. You truly know when you don't. You truly know the densities. You all know this. There is no question that you know what it feels like to be harmed, to allow yourself to be swarmed and overcome by the lower densities that are here. You know this already. You don't need to learn any more about it. It's time to choose something different. It's time to let go of these things and to walk your walk with joy and light and brightness. You can still be sad through the heart and still feel joy. And see the beauty in sadness and see the beauty in connection. There is no harm in that. The time is now. It's happening again and again and again. You're seeing control trying to take over. It's doing everything it can to control you, to control the world, to control the consciousness, to control everything it can. It's happening all the time. The reason it's so prevalent is because now you're here and you're choosing something else. There is a sense that you give out, a projection you give out when you even do take time to watch your news or to see somebody in desperate straits because of what has been taken away. You can feel it and you say, this is not the new earth. There is a different way. And you feel that different way even as you're speaking those words to yourself. You can feel the different way. It's about expanding that feeling, and you do it through your star tetrahedron. You do it through the present moment. You do it through your breath. You see it in the miracles around you every single time, and yet they're not miracles anymore. You know it's just truth coming out. The verifications are becoming abundant. It's almost like they're becoming commonplace. The deeper you continue to go with your present moment and your breath, the more they're starting to happen. It's just a part of the journey now, happening all the time. And you laugh and you shake your head and just look up and you say, I know it was you guys. It wasn't us. You made that happen. You created, you manifested because you felt it in your heart. Sometimes all we do is give you a synchronized situation to let you know that what you felt in your heart is true. Will others stop controlling you when you start using your star tetrahedron? No. That control is ever prevalent everywhere, and it's going to continue and continue. but it has no effect on you if there is no emotional attachment to it. It's as simple as that. If you wish to give yourself away to it, then it will trigger you. It will bring you back even to your past, maybe even a past life that you didn't even realize you had, but there's a trigger that will take you there. Your choice. Or you can take a breath, feel your star tetrahedron in that split second, and know all is well. And you'll know all is well because of the feeling that comes from that center. That no matter what, all is well. Control in the world has become very strong. The energies that are coming through from the galactic core, once again, are assisting you to be able to rise above it. But you must accept it. You must accept the energies that are coming in. To be able to accept the energies that are coming in means you must be in the present moment. It's just not going to happen for you. You have free choice. You have free will. The energies are coming in whether you know it or not. But you must choose to be in the present moment. Some of you have already chosen that overall. And some are just learning that that's possible. All of it is good. But know that it is a choice. It is a feeling. It is a sensation. It is a knowing. And you can see those that do not choose it, who actually take the opportunity to say no. I am right and I always will be right. You can feel that density, that feeling. And if you can find a way to not judge in that moment, to love yourself enough to not allow it to come in and disrupt your star tetrahedron, you are loving that person more than you could ever imagine. The forgiveness is forgiving yourself for allowing it to come into you. When you do not allow it to come into you, when you choose to love yourself on a higher level, you're actually choosing to love that other person on a higher level. It doesn't mean they know it. In fact, there's no way they can. Their blockage is too strong. But that's how you start bringing in the infinite abundance here through your star tetrahedron, is to not accept lower density energies any longer, to not allow somebody to affect you in such a way that it brings up those emotional triggers that have been going on for such a long time. You have heard this word before. It's called enablement. Basically, you are not enabling them to change who you are anymore. You're reversing the energy that's coming at you that might be harming you and taking you down, and sending it back to them at a higher frequency, saying, I love you too much to enable you to continue to do what you're doing. That changes the dynamic completely. It raises the vibration of your star tetrahedron. It spins at a higher frequency than ever before. So you might say to yourself, the more I love myself, the more I'm assisting those outside of me. You don't have to see it that way. Just know that that's what's happening. It's almost as if you're allowing the energies that are coming in from the galactic core, opening yourself up through your breath and through your moment, and starting to project that out in ways that it just doesn't matter. It's pure energy. It's a pureness of energy that goes out to touch others. What they do with it is their choice, of course. But no, you are changing what's going on around you by changing yourself. Do the best you can to get off your tightrope. The sooner you can, the more opportunities there will be to breathe, to connect, to be one with, to see clearly, to make choices that are based on the heart, not choices that are based on the mind. It truly is time for the intuition to come in. It's truly time for the heart to be the director. Know that these opportunities are there for you. Each and every moment you take a breath. Allow yourself to become the true masters that you are. So as we come back, go ahead and just take a few deep breaths for yourself. Maybe find your balance a little bit. Everybody back? So once again, if you'd like to make any comments, questions, Brenda was saying that if you have a question from here, because we can hear the people on there, I'll try and do the best I can to repeat the question that you might have or comment or whatever, so they can hear it. So anyway, the floor is yours. Yeah. Usually it keeps going off. It's just... Nancy, go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a question. Well, obviously, the group was addressing this, but I just really have a hard time. Okay, it feels like right now, it feels like, we're seeing like the rise of like Hitler again or something in this country with what's going on. And it's really hard to be an aware person and not like worry about that. There's shootings and there's just so much going on. Are we supposed to just like, I don't know. I just have a really hard time. It's the tightrope, right? I just have a really hard time. Like, I feel like I want to do something to, I don't know. I've been an activist for a long time. Right now, I'm not. I'm taking care of these little children, and to me, I feel like I'm connecting with their soul, and it's like beautiful. And maybe that's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. But it's so hard to balance that, to know when to just turn it off. And like sometimes, I go out in my garden and I pick flowers and I create bouquets, but then sometimes I almost feel like that's frivolous, and like I almost feel like guilty because I'm not doing something else. I mean, what do you have to say to that?
I don't know, you got a couple hours?
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess that's totally just exactly what they're talking about, right? The tightrope, right?
It is a tightrope, and
Yeah.
it's as soon as we judge, we get on that tightrope right away. And I'm going to say anyway, I sit here with the question, and I do the best I can to reconnect with them to see what they might say, feel, whatever.
Sure.
And the most important piece, is not to judge yourself. If you judge yourself and what you're doing, and that's what seems to be coming across in what you're saying, because you're confused and you feel like you're not doing anything, and sometimes you are, and it's like, so you're judging yourself as that you're not doing enough, and that you should be doing more. And the most important thing is not to judge yourself. We all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. And we're here to do the best we can. And as we do the best we can, we do the best for all. And the best you can, to me, is a feeling in the heart that if I can let my heart direct me as best I can, it's not going to happen every day. I'm going to fall. I'm going to make mistakes. It's just a part of being human. But if I can do the best I can, I'm making a difference. And that's all that matters. If making a difference is taking care of those little kids, and that's what's making a difference. Those little kids might grow up to be some incredible leader later on because of the love and compassion that you gave them. It feeds them. It helps them grow. It helps them see the world in a different way. And when that happens, then all of a sudden, when they get old enough, they can project that out as well, just because they have it in their heart already. I don't know. It's just like, if we judge ourselves and what we're trying to do, that we're not doing enough, there's never an endless tightrope that just goes off into the distance that says there's never an end. That you just got to keep doing and doing and doing. And that takes totally away from the present moment of loving yourself in that moment, reconnecting, and just knowing whatever comes to you after that moment is perfect in whatever way it is. And if that's somebody that's going to walk in front of your face and start screaming at you, then that's what's going to happen. And you're going to do the best you can to turn that energy around into something else. As you take that energy from them, what I was seeing with that star tetrahedron, that somebody's trying to harm me, I see it coming into me and being changed and going back to them. And they don't know what to do with it. But it's still being projected out. And that's adding more energy that's at a higher frequency and making a difference in the world, even if that person doesn't accept it. So judging yourself is not the answer. To me, the best thing to do is to be with and to be in the moment and doing the best you can with that, knowing that we're not perfect and we're just not going to be perfect while we're down here. Master is a pretty big word, you know. It kind of makes you feel like, oh, wow, I'm going to have to be, you know, some ascended great master that's going to bring light to everybody and all that stuff. No, mastering yourself is to master the emotional attachments that you came in with, that you've developed, and now that you're going to let go of, because that means you become a spiritual alchemist of shifting the energies of those low frequencies into higher frequencies, whatever that feels like to you, and not being attached anymore.
Thank you.
So
Beautiful. Thank you.
there you go.
Thank you. I'm gonna mute myself.
We can have some Kleenex.
I like the statement you just made about being a spiritual alchemist,
Yeah,
because it's about transmuting the
yeah.
basic energetic vibration of who you are.
Uh-huh.
And as you do that, the environment around you absorbs that vibration.
Mm-hmm.
So doing the best you can is simply being in a state of elevating the experiences you have, I think. Bringing the vibrational level up. And probably the key word is acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
If you can accept yourself as such a being, then you're not going to judge yourself.
Acceptance is a big piece, because it's like, can you accept just what's in the moment? Whether, again, the guy's sitting there yelling at you when you come out of your breath, or whether, you know, you're looking at a flower. Either one is perfect just the way it is. And if I can accept what's being presented to me in the moment without judgment, not emotional attachment, is that easy? Hell no. It's almost impossible in some ways, you know, in some cases, because, you know, any one of us in the past has had situations that have been so difficult to be with that, you know, it's just sometimes it's hard to walk through it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen in the moment, but eventually, if you can be that spiritual alchemist and shift that energy at some point, then you find balance once again, and that gets projected out to the earth, to the planet, into consciousness.
Hi, Tomei.
Hello, Amanda.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, I just am feeling a lot of gratitude for the immense amount of compassion that I felt pouring through in this channel. That felt really, really healing for me personally. And the topic of, I don't know, just this idea of control and these things that happen, kind of something that came up for me this past week was, or the past couple of weeks, you know, with what's happening in the world and in the US, and was just, I felt like this fighter aspect show up, that felt like power is being taken, choice is being taken. And so what will I do to fight to get my power back? And so it was just a very interesting aspect of myself that showed up, and to feel that, and then to step into the heart space from that place, and to feel the reality of the creative power that is in the heart space, that doesn't have to be fought away from the powers that be, that we don't have to ask for it back or fight for it back. And just the overwhelming feeling of it, it's right here. And, you know, and that creative power, you know, as Nancy was saying, she's spending time with these kids. It's like, what amazing creative power to actually make an impact and create a shift in that way. And it doesn't look like going out and fighting and being like the activists that we've been in the past, but it was just very interesting to feel like what the world says, or how I've been programmed to think about how I need to reclaim my power versus the reality of where it actually exists in the heart space, and just the difference in that. So that and so much more. I felt like everything that came through today was really hitting home. So just thank you for creating the space for that.
You're welcome. Yeah. I mean, just to feed off of that, there's no question that we already hold our direction or our understanding, or what to do in any kind of situation, you might say, is in the heart. It's not in the mind. We've been so trained to believe that we have to use our minds to go after something or to fight something, or yet the whole deal is just to accept what's going on in whatever way we can and just change the energy of it. That doesn't mean you fight it. It means you actually accept it and bring it into you, and then allow it to settle, and then shift the energy into something higher, whatever that means. However you do that for yourself, the answer was within your own heart. And fighting is not the answer, obviously, as far as I can see. I mean, that's seems to be another wall that gets created, a feeding of the other side. I don't know, but
yeah, I love that you said that. And maybe if you're open to sharing a little bit more on that, of like, it's so easy just because we live in this world, been programmed in so many ways to feel separate from our power. And just the difference in when I feel like I have to go fight, and like the fighter in me needs to show up, and that it's almost me inhabiting this vibration that believes my power is in the hands of somebody else.
mm-hmm.
But so for people who have
or that, the other thing that I was just going to say was that, or that they can take my power away from me.
Right. And so
there's no truth to that.
Yeah. And that's why I'm curious what you might come through if, I were to ask now, like, how can someone in the moment of slipping into that belief of my power can be taken from me, or I have to fight for it back. How in the moment would you suggest someone reconnecting with the sense of the reality that it is within,
Again, I always come back to this. It's just coming back into the heart, taking a breath and saying that none of that's true. I don't know how you say that to yourself. Everybody has a different feeling of when they're in that moment where it seems like something's being taken from them. It's not true. It's just not true. None of it is true, because you have an infinite wealth of connection through your heart space. The mind wants you to believe it's not true. It's almost like what you manifest in front of you is to convince you that you don't have that ability, that it's almost like it's going to get stronger and stronger, where somebody or something's going to be in front of you to try and tell you you don't have the power anymore, until you finally say, no, that's not true. It's like you're manifesting your journey in such a way, whoever you are, manifesting things in front of you. It keeps showing you that we're going to keep taking things away from you until you finally step forward and say, no, you can't do that anymore, whatever that means, however that feels. And so you create your own journey to keep doing that until one day you finally raise your hand and say, no more. It's over. I'm not going to allow you to do this to me anymore, or I'm not going to allow this situation to do this to me anymore. It's not true that I lose myself because of what's in front of me. I am better than that. I know more than that. I am a star. I am the divine. I am all of that in my heart space. And no, I am not accepting harm anymore. I'm not accepting judgment anymore. I'm not accepting manipulation anymore. I'm just not accepting these low frequencies anymore. They're going to come after me. They're going to keep coming. That's this world. This world is not going to stop challenging you. It's going to keep going. However, you have the ability to say no. You have the ability to go in your heart space and say, I am stronger than this within my heart, which means I will not accept any more being harmed in any way. And that is the truth. To me, there is no more truth than that. And however that develops for any one of us, you have the ability to say that in whatever situation presents itself. And it's really hard to do. I'm not saying it's like, all you got to do is go do that. I understand how difficult that can be. I've walked my own journey as well, so I get it. But the fact of the matter is you are that magnificent heart in whatever way that is for you. And own it. It's time to own it. It's time to be it. It's time to become it. Bring it out. Start living it every moment you can, and find out that, gosh, there's so much joy out there to be had. There's so much fun to be had. No more adulting anymore, right? It's just no more adulting. It's time to be little kids again and to go explore and let your heart be free and say, no, you can't stop me from doing that. I don't care if you take my house away, you take my money away, I'm still going to explore. It's still going to happen. There are trails I haven't even been in yet in this place I live. There's still for me to find. We went on one yesterday, and all we did was climb down some rocks. And we had fun with the chipmunks. There were hundreds of them coming up and trying to go between my legs and bite my legs and whatever they wanted to do. We were laughing and having fun, and she'd laugh about it. It's just like, explore and know they can't stop you from being your heart. Cannot do it. No matter what they try and put in front of you. Can't do it. But you have to know that.
Is the mic on?
Yeah, it's on. Yeah.
Yeah, that feels just like a really important way to ground it, because I feel like when we focus on the details of what is happening in the third dimension, where it's like, well, this right's being taken away, or this law was, or this, I don't know, regulations, or whatever it is, that we focus on the density of it, and like what you just said of like, nothing has the power to take you away from being in your heart. And like, if that's like the core of it all, it feels like we could just get so lost in the details, but the way you simplified it was really powerful.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, just like it struck me with kind of the duality versus the pure duality. It's like we want to view it, or the mind comes in viewing it as a certain way, but in many ways, I love that image of the tightrope, like going to infinity, and kind of like as more of this happens in the third dimension or whatever, that more and more of that causes us to go inside and be like, no, we're getting off the tightrope now, rather than maneuvering it or figuring out how to still be with it in a different way. It's just like all of that is having the kind of opposite effect from the pure duality standpoint, I feel.
Yeah, eventually the tightrope just fades away.
See, the tightrope is the tightrope of fear.
Yeah.
And when you are empowered, okay, you literally own the incredible power within yourself. Nobody can empower you. The world is trying to disempower you by having you succumb to the fears and the pressures of what's out there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Our close friend Boot Gordon was enamored of a book and of a guy who wrote this book. His name is Dr. David Hawkins. And the book was called Power versus Force. Well, it's kind of paradoxical because it sounds like the same thing. But what he was explaining is that the 3D world operates by force. It doesn't operate by power. Power is totally within us. And the higher our consciousness, which means the higher we'll function from our heart, okay, the more exponentially powerful we are really in relation to the people who only have force to try to compel us to do things.
Mhm.
Okay, so the power lies within, and your vibrational, Amanda, your vibrational level in power is tens of thousands of times more powerful than all those 3D people running around being crazy.
Hmm.
Okay, just own it.
Yeah.
Okay? Empowerment is owning it.
Mhm.
Okay, and if
And
you
then,
own
and then
it,
there's also, it's owning it, but it's also using action afterwards while we're here. There's both. It kind of, they go in hand. So it's like, you can be empowered, but then because we're in a third dimensional reality, there's also a second part. It's like, okay, there's the door, and there's a door to empowerment, and I have it, but now I got to walk through the door and start enhancing it, which means I have to act. And so those actions out of the heart are different than actions out of the mind. And you find more courage and empowerment as you act. It just keeps going. So there's that aspect of it. And that's how the consciousness of each one of us and the consciousness around us starts rising up is through action. And that's what we have to do down here, is act. And so if I go out and start cutting down all the trees, or I go down and plant all the trees, there's an action that's cutting off energy, and then there's an action that's adding to energy. Which way am I going to act? Well, if I'm empowered, of course, I'm probably going to be adding more energy to the consciousness instead of taking it away. So action becomes a part of what we do down here too. That's a big piece.
you know, in my very amateurish way, I will often say, there's nobody out there. Okay, there's nobody out there judging you because they're also preoccupied with themselves that they haven't got time, okay, to really pay attention to who you are. Okay, that's the paradox. The people who pay attention to who you are the people who can feel you, not the people who simply through their eyes and ears, etc., hear you or see you physically. Okay, they don't care. They're busy impressing each other, except none of those others get impressed because they're busy impressing each other. And so they just create this incredible syndrome of artificial, totally artificial, superficial way of being.
Well, that's an interesting concept, because a while back, something came to me in a meditation that basically said that you don't need to worry, not that I was worrying, but you don't need to worry about the powers that be out there, because as long as each one of us keeps working on our hearts and keeps growing, they'll have nobody to feed off of but themselves, and they're going to end up having to feed off their own community. And who cares when they do that, because they just go off into whatever. So it's kind of a picture of that. But yet also there's a point where they start feeding off of each other, and some of them come off of that and saying they don't like doing that anymore and they'd rather be with us. So it's like, just make sure you keep the door open, because you never know who might walk through. It might shock you. Because they would be fully accepted.
I'm learning, in my old age, I'm learning that to quote, join us, etc., has to be an open-hearted invitation.
Yeah, exactly.
It can't be a judgmental assertion.
Right. Or a definition, or, yeah,
Yep.
you can join us, but this is how it has to look. No, it's the same old paradigm. that's
These
been out
are the rules.
there. Yeah, these are the rules. How about you guys? Anybody say anything? It's all good. Okay.
Brenda, what have you got to say?
You're on the spot, man.
You're awfully quiet for Brenda.
I'm good. I thought it was awesome. I like the tightrope analogy. Control. It totally fits with what's going on in my life right now, and I loved it. Thank you.
They said you're welcome. How about you guys? Anybody want to say anything? No? Get my disease. Just do this a couple of times and it'll come forward.
I don't know, I can just say experience of last week. For someone who was
Can't hear.
happy with me.
I'll repeat it, or if you want to come over.
Okay.
It'd probably be easier for her. She's coming over. So maybe kind of get real close so they can hear it front. Go ahead. I did.
Sweet. Experience last week of someone who was making me very angry. I was not making me, I was feeling very angry. Forcing me into wanting me to feel guilty about something, and I wasn't. And then I wanted to went home and I wrote up a whole letter, 3 pages, trying to explain myself and why that is not what was going on my end. And then it was late, so I went to bed. I didn't want to send it. I just said, sleep on it. The next morning, it just felt like, no, don't send it. That just felt like war. It felt like a pushback. It felt like, even though it was my truth and it was hard to let that go, it felt better. It went to my heart. It just felt better to go, no, don't send it. It just means war will happen. And that's no end to that. There's no end to that. So just be at peace and know that you're doing your best that you can. The transformation part of feelings with that person is the hard part. And that's my work. That feels like my work. And that's something I've looked at this weekend and thought about. And
that's all I can do. That's all I can be. And to transform that energy. So anyway, that's my story.
You can transform your response to who they are.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Patty, I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing that. I can feel you. And that was a beautiful mirror for me and what I'm currently walking through as well. So thank you for just standing in your heart and helping me from afar and being what you are. I love you.
Love you too, Amanda.
Sometimes just having that conversation with yourself, like writing this letter, even you're intending it for someone else, but really they don't need to hear it. You need to hear it. You need to hear it yourself. It doesn't. It's not going to change. It doesn't hear it. So it's just good that you hear it for yourself.
So Lisa was saying that basically having that conversation with yourself and writing that letter down for yourself is really for you, not for the other person, and that the other person probably won't hear what you're saying anyway. And so really it's to help you find peace and balance. And, you know, I think like what she did was in waiting to the next day brought her into that state of neutrality. You know, it brought you back into your heart, like you said. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you come back. It worked, yeah. Yeah. Fist pumps all around. Just put fist pumps up here. We got fist pumps going. They're all going like so yeah, just to come back again, it's you know, like with that situation, took 12 hours or whatever, right, to come back instead of the moment, or could be another day, could be 2 days, whatever. It's like it's going to be the time that your heart needs to find its way back. But to know that something inside you pushed you to do that. And I say that something inside of you is your star tetrahedron and your connection to, and saying, okay, take a moment here, take a second, breathe. Let's just be with this for a little bit longer and see where it goes. And so it's something inside of you has the ability to help you with that. You could say it's your higher soul. You could say it's your star tetrahedron, your heart. I don't. It's probably all the same thing. But there's something that really assists you. It's like that intuitive feeling or that knowing that I got to follow this. And it always turns out right when you do that. But when you don't, oh well, you should have listened. Anyone else? Did it come to you? No.
Yeah, no, thank you, Patty, for sharing that. It reminded me of a conversation I had with Tomei right before we left, of like just feeling into those different parts of self, that when those things come up, it's like, for me, I had, you know, a different thing, but maybe the same flavor of a feeling of like this part of me that so badly wanted to justify myself and share and be like, well, no, I can't let this person off the hook, or like, there's no way. But then this other, it's just like, why? Like, why propagate more of that energy? Like what? And then the other part, of course, is like, but no, there's no way you could let that off the hook. It was so big. And it's just like, who cares? But just in that, and kind of like with the channeling, the like bringing the grace to all those parts. And like, I know I spent a lot of time like shunning that part or being like, God, I wish that away, but it's like that part is super important too, but it's like making a different choice now. And so your example was really, really powerful in reminding us and me of just like how it can be so challenging, but how unbelievably expansive it feels when we make that choice that isn't honoring that other part, you know, but that's still bringing grace to it, but that we're making a different choice. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Fist bumps.
You turn the light.
Yeah, I was trying to do that. Let's see.
Anybody else?
I'll try to. Talk a little bit over here.
You're close enough to me. Just
It'll probably come back to me somewhere down the road. I'll be jogging or something. Oh.
Rick's trying to figure out what he was going to say, but he's just going to come and say something anyway. So,
Bill, you understand that point, right? When
Yeah.
it doesn't, it doesn't want to come out. It gets stuck somewhere and it comes out when you least expect it. But it had to do with control. I know that part, and it was at the beginning of the whole channel today. But I know it had something to do with when they were talking about control. Is I'm in control of me. I'm in control of my heart. So getting conflicting with being in control, but not trying to control others or let others control me. And as long as I'm in control of my own heart and how I do things, how I perceive things, as long as it's, and so that's where I know I was bouncing back and forth trying to remember what I was going to say but I know it had something to do with control and not allowing outside influences to be in control, but me always being in control of me and my heart and my feelings. And so I don't know whether that makes any sense at all.
yeah, actually it does. And one of the things I would say is maybe a softer feel of that would take the word control out of your heart, because heart has no control. It just wants to be experiential. It just wants to experience things. It's more, maybe a softer way is just to say that I will allow my heart to be my guide.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
in some ways, I can't even control my heart. I mean, if it's connected to the all, then the all is going to provide me experiences and opportunities to continue to grow. And so it's like there's really no control in that. It is more of an acceptance, like Bill was talking about before, of just what is in the moment and what is here to help me find myself deeper and deeper, and to not allow what's outside of me to try and control that journey, but just to allow myself to be present as much as possible.
Well, it's like feelings, true feelings just kind of show up.
Mhm.
It's
A
not
lot
like
of times they do, yeah.
it's not like you're controlling them or trying to control them. All of a sudden, it's a feeling.
This
inside,
happens. Yep.
And you say, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. I don't know.
And then what he just said was really important too, I'm going to say, because to own that, to own your own feelings and not let somebody tell you, well, you shouldn't feel that way or you shouldn't think of it that way or whatever. It's just to say, no, that's how I feel. And to own that and to allow yourself to feel how you feel, because that's really important from that perspective too. To not let the outside world tell you how you're supposed to be. So, yeah, cool.
When Rick said that, a very different thought flashed through my mind, which is that your soul controls your heart, not your ego.
Right.
Okay. And your soul doesn't, so then the next thought was, and so are you listening to, or are you being guided by your soul, or are you being guided by your ego?
Yeah, yeah, and so it is this, it's like, you know, we can simplify it by saying, is it this or this?
Yep.
I mean, when, it was kind of funny that as I'm doing this, it reminds me of somebody asked me once, so what do you do? I'm like, oh, wow, that's a tough question. I just help people go from here to here. Really? How do you do that? Oh, you got a few hours? We can have a conversation. But it's kind of like, yeah, that's a simplistic way of looking at ourselves, really, is to say, huh, is this choice or this decision or what's ever happening, is it coming from here? Is it coming from here? And you're the only one that knows that, you know, nobody can tell you it is or it isn't. You have to feel that for yourself. And you can't feel here, you can only feel here. And so if you think you're feeling something, then you might want to take a breath and come back to it and say, let me be with this so I can feel it instead of thinking I'm feeling it. So anyway, there's that. Thank you. Anyone else? This is good, guys. This is a great conversation.
Thank you.
I mean, it's like we're an hour and a half already. I don't know if anybody's ever going to key into this one. It's a long. Maybe I'll have to put a lot of stars after it or something. Well, thank you all for being a part of this. It's been awesome. It was a great group this time. Thank you all. It's been awesome.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you.
I'll send this out. You can turn the record off, Brenda. Thank you.